Daryl is currently a PhD candidate at BYU in computer engineering. He grew up in Alaska, which means he likes long walks on freezing cold beaches and wrestling grizzly bears. Daryl Heath.
All right. Is this thing on? Now it is. Okay, so this piece of art that you see here actually won an award for it. But I'm not an artist, I'm a computer scientist. So how did I do that? Well, I'm going to talk about research that I've done for my PhD here at BYU. And to start with, I want you to look at these three paintings, okay? One of them was done by a computer, one was done by a human, and one was done by a horse. So can you tell which one's which? And if you could, would that influence which one you would call art? Could you say that the horse or the computer were being creative when they made this painting? For that matter, what is creativity and what is art? So if we look at an artist like a black box, okay? A black box meaning there's inputs, there's something going on inside that we can't see, and then there's outputs. So if a human artist, their inputs like their whole lifetime of experience, okay? And something happens inside this black box, some process, and then out pops a piece of art. And I want to know what's going on inside that black box. And can we simulate that on a computer? So if we look at this piece of art, it means something to me. Something like the tragedy of war, or something like that. And I believe that the artist intended for that to happen. You know, he made this picture with war in mind. Okay, you know, if the artist wants to convey some idea to the viewer, he has to know what that idea is, has to know what it means, has some understanding of it. This artist had to know what war meant. So how does a artist know that? If we hear this word war, how do we know what it means? What does meaning mean? What is our brain doing when it hears this word and gives meaning to this word war? Well, in the cognitive psychology, one of the main ideas is about associations. So when we hear war, we actually think of other words. You know, words like battle or soldier, fighting, and they have their own concepts too. And even things that maybe we've seen or heard or emotions that we felt. All this comes together in this big network that means war in our minds. Okay. And so when we see paintings, a notable cognitive psychologist named Csikszentmihalyi said this: the aesthetic experience occurs when information coming from the artwork interacts with information already stored in the viewer's mind. Okay? So through art, there's some transfer of information. The artist is trying to communicate something to the viewer. Okay? And so using these principles in mind, I made my own artist, and her name is DARCI. Okay? So DARCI is a program that I've written with the intent of making art that conveys meaning. Okay? So obviously, starting at the human level is pretty tough. So we shrunk DARCI's experience down to adjectives. So what we do is we give DARCI a list of adjectives and a source image, and DARCI re-renders that source image to reflect the adjectives. Okay? So DARCI, just like a human artist, has to know what these adjectives mean, right? If it's going to put them in art. So we teach DARCI. We give DARCI thousands of labeled images. We say, hey DARCI, here's a happy image. Here's a sad image. Here's a peaceful image. Here's a fiery image. And DARCI looks at all of these examples and then using what are called artificial neural networks, which are like mathematical models of neurons in the brain. Okay? it starts to learn how to associate these words with these images, starts to build that network of meaning, okay? And so then later we can say, Darcy, here's a source image, make it scary. Darcy can say, I know what scary means. And Darcy uses Photoshop type filters and stuff, starts to try different things, exploring. How can I make this image scary? Okay? And eventually you get something like this. So source image on the left, and Darcy made it painted. Okay? And another one. Darcy made this one bright. Now, Darcy only knows adjectives and images. Darcy is the one choosing how to actually make it bright. Darcy's choosing the colors and the patterns and all those things on her own. You're not fiery, scary, scary again. Notice this is a different way of making an image scary than the last one. It's different every time. We also do multiple adjectives at once. This one was interesting because happy and lonely are kind of contradicting terms. And I had no idea what Darcy was going to do, and I thought that she did pretty well. And we can also forego the source image and have Darcy make abstract art. So here are two different versions of peaceful that Darcy did. Now the one on the right, we actually printed it off and submitted it to a local art show here in Provo, and it won second place. Yeah, the judges did not know it was done by a computer. And when I got the award, I spilled the beans. Half the people thought it was amazing, and the other half was all offended. It was kind of cool. So you may be thinking, well, this is cool with the adjective stuff, but I wouldn't hang that on my wall. Let's be honest here. But you got to understand that Darcy's like a child. You know, her experience, her knowledge of the world is still very small. In fact, you see this word peacefully, and you have a whole lifetime of experience knowing what that means. So I'm going to put you in Darcy's shoes, okay? We're going to learn brand new adjectives, the same way Darcy learns them. So we're going to learn Bromley, okay? I'm going to show you images that are Bromley, images that are not Bromley, and you got to figure out what it means. So these images are Bromley, not Bromley, not Bromley, Bromley, not Bromley, not Bromley. Okay, here's your source image. Make it Bromley. How would you do that? So we did this study where we got actual human artists to learn fake adjectives in the same way and make an image for us. And we had Darcy do the same thing. Okay? And so we're going to quickly go through a few more fake adjectives. Bromley means blocky, if you didn't figure that out. So Orfley on the left, flamping on the right. Left images are Orfley, right flamping. Not Orfley, not flamping. Orfley flamping. Not Orfley, not flamping. Okay? So top is the source image. One of these two bottom images, one was made by a human artist, and the other was made by Darcy. Show of hands, who thinks the one on the left was made by Darcy? Who thinks the one on the right was made by Darcy? Okay? The right is Darcy. Okay? Orfley means weird. Clamping means lonely. Did you guys get that? Okay, so we got Bromley with blocky, Blemistic, which is majestic, and Iambic, which is avian. Okay, this is their source image. So who thinks the one on the left is Darcy? Who thinks the one on the right is Darcy? This time it was left. Darcy made the image on the left. So you can see here that when we restrict human art, restrict human artists to the same limitations that Darcy has, their difference in art is not that big anymore. In fact, in our study, when we take into account the natural bias against computers, people rated Darcy's images higher in general. Okay? So this stuff's pretty cool. Darcy's doing adjectives, but we want Darcy to actually do more than just adjectives. Be able to make paintings on any kind of concept. And so we had Darcy learn a lot more concepts. So we gave Darcy Wikipedia and said, here, read this. All of it. So Darcy analyzed all of the Wikipedia and started learning things, learning that cars have wheels and that cows give milk and that love is blind and all this stuff, you know. And so Darcy's kind of expanding her knowledge. And then we also gave Darcy access to these very simple, iconic images representing simple nouns. Okay, he has a whole library of these images. Okay, so now what we can do is say, hey Darcy, make us an original image about space. Darcy says, hey, I've read about space. I've read that there's things like stars and planets and astronauts and satellites, and it's kind of dark and mysterious and big and expansive. And so Darcy kind of looks and creates her own source image based on these concepts that she relates to space. And then that gets sent to the image renderer as normal to do the adjective. And then out pops this image that represents space, an original image. And again, Darcy's making all the decisions here. I have no idea why that P is there. You know, and she chooses all these colors and how they're arranged. So as I show you these other ones, think about what concept they're representing. Okay. So this one is garden. We just said garden. This one, bear. Bear. Music. This one is war. This one, love. Kind of a sad love picture. I actually had Darcy do a second love just to give her like one more chance. She did this. I think her Facebook status says it's complicated. We got, this is hard to see, ice. Okay. And then this one is murder. So we've done a lot of cool things with the Darcy. You know, we've done art shows here at BYU. We've done art shows in Georgia and even in Paris, France. And we've been on National Public Radio. And we've done some pretty cool stuff with Darcy, but we still have a long ways to go. But now that you've seen some of the stuff that Darcy's done, I want to go back to some of the original questions. What is creativity? And did you find it in Darcy? Thank you.